Hi everyone, it's Reena Jadhav here at Splash X HP, and I'm chatting today with Damon Hostin, who's the CEO of Precision Medicine Alliance. Welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your background and what do you do?
Sure. So I have been in genomics since about 1999, working at Celera Genomics with Craig Venter and the team that was one half of the groups that did the first human genome. From there, I worked in pharmaceuticals, diagnostics, life science tools, and then found my way to healthcare. And so, having worked in healthcare a number of years, the maturity of genomics was coming along over those many years between the Celera days. And I was working at Catholic Health Initiatives, and Dignity Health came together to invest in the NewCo, which is the Precision Medicine Alliance, and we are a professional platform and services company that provide platforms around advanced oncology, coronary unit and coronary care, pharmacogenomics, and now looking into rare diseases and even genomics in the NICU. So we're a professional services group working in a very healthcare-centric way, particularly in a way in which Dignity Health and CHI view community wellness. And so it was a really nice convergence a couple years ago when we were founded.
And an exciting opportunity. You've got a huge footprint. Share with our listeners what that footprint is.
Sure. So Dignity and CHI together cover around 26 states and around 150 hospitals. Our catchment area is approximately 25% of the U.S. population.
Wow, huge.
And generally, they are in places that are deemed community care, in which quote-unquote advanced capabilities may not be necessarily within the community's reach. And so being founded in concepts of equity and access and balance, we are trying to increase accessibility to advanced capabilities locally in the community setting.
Okay. How old is the company?
2 years.
2 years, all right. So you're a startup with a huge footprint, which is exciting. So talk a little bit about the difference between precision health and precision medicine.
Sure.
And where do you play?
So most genomics today is actually being used in the highest acuity settings. So advanced and recurrent cancers, which would be the drug gene indication rubric of targeted therapeutics. Also as it relates to severe anomalies in cardiac care, or in neonatal, in which the percentage of babies in the NICU unit actually has a very high percentage of genetic disorders. So these are hyperacute as it relates to care. On the other side, on the low acuity side, would be what are the profiles of people that form communities that may be harboring risks individually, and so that you can work to manage it better. The classic example would be BRCA or Lynch syndrome, in which earlier intervention would lead to better outcomes, but you need to know your status in order for that to be managed. Other examples would be in hypercholesteremia. So are you swimming upstream or downstream as it relates to health? And health, of course, is an incredibly data-centric model. So the genome has about 3.2 billion pieces of information that you need to manage. But there's so many other things. So some people say here's a genetic code, but lifestyle and all the things that go on in choices is a very large portion of health. Another is access and quality to care, and so we hear about digital connectivity as some of the ways healthcare is innovating for access, and your environment. So your zip code actually says a tremendous amount about the violence in your community, whether there are Superfund sites nearby, the quality of the air, is it around bus routes, and then from there, biology interplays with all that other information to then format risk. So we have a very grand vision of managing populations, which involves, my job is biology. Other people have other jobs throughout it, but it all interplays, I think, into what would be a smart precision wellness capability.
And if Damon has his way, what does the world look like 5 years from now if you're super successful? What do I, as a patient, how does my healthcare change?
It's a great question. Part of it is that we would know more about you in a safe, compliant way in order to assess certain risks. That would then interplay with, I heard just the other day at a population genomics conference that hospitals are phenotyping factories. Hospitals gather.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that we know about your blood pressure, your heart rate, your diabetes status, all
and
these
soon
other
iPhone will
pieces.
too.
Well, and then exactly. So that needs to be standardized. We need to understand what is important in forming algorithms across those segments of data, and then it forms a cohort. And it could be a cohort of one, but a general cohort for which certain interventions can help with ameliorating or avoiding healthcare issues. So right now, for example, precision medicine is used in stage 3, 4 cancers quite often. If we do our jobs well, we don't even get there. It's dealt with far before that. So we're hoping for almost a stage shift of acuity in our communities. And I think that's what, coming from a hospital system standpoint, that's what we would want to see.
Which should hopefully decrease the cost of burden.
That's right, overall.
So, prevention as opposed to treatment.
Well,
and very expensive treatment.
That's right. So management of lives is the trade-off for hyperacuity in a very difficult situation.
Got it. As you look at sort of companies like Virta, do you actually partner with these organizations, or are you creating these on your own? Are you sort of replicating what's a best of breed, so to speak, and creating your own stack?
So one way of looking at this is that there is a democratization around genomic technology. The other is that genomics hits communities in different ways, and by hits I'm saying that there's actually a segmentation, and I think that there are times, particularly in high acuity, where genomics is medical. There are other times where genomics is sort of opportunistic. It's meant to say, what can the walking well do even better? And that tends to be more of a cash pay, recreational nature of people curious about ancestry and pieces of health. And that's great. Eventually these may converge in which it's going to become so inexpensive to access the information once, and that technology will be able to make it portable in safe ways. So what we're seeing today is investment in different segments, be it consumer wellness or in molecular diagnostics for advanced cancer or other exome scans and the NICU or genome scans and undiagnosed. So again, we are seeing different business models being created using similar technologies focused at different population segments, and in fact even supported in different ways. Many of the diagnostic companies in oncology are backed by pharmaceutical development, and that is great. That's fine. If I was in those companies, I'd do exactly the same thing, because to understand, for example, what is the frequency of this mutation in this tumor, that helps with portfolio management, and no one benefits from waste in the system. So bringing the data together works very powerfully. It just so happens that because generally insurers are still waiting for the evidence to give greater access to coverage, so that it's just a matter of the course of care to get these advanced diagnostics, that all these other business models are coming about. So there will be a convergence in the future. It's amazing how fast things have gone from having one genome on this earth to now we're nearing 1 million, if not more. And then it may become as routine as the heel prick when someone's born. But the thought experiment is, if the information was free, could you do good with it? And so that forces the issue on the healthcare side. And almost the public health side. Could you do it? And that turns into a
and what could you
issue.
do?
Right, exactly.
And what could you do?
And we're still learning. Right.
What is the most exciting service you've launched recently?
So we partner with a company called SciAps, and they have been able to take the genetic sequence of advanced tumors and EMR data and harmonize the data sets so that multiple organizations throughout the country can bring their data together, and you can start to look at outcomes and impact. It was just recognized by the Biden initiative last week in D.C., in which SciAps and the groups, the hospital systems of which Dignity Health and CHI are part, have agreed to safely sharing de-identified patient data for physicians to use as a decision support resource in this new world of drugs and genes and different types of cancers. So being part of that and seeing Joe Biden recognize that effort was really exciting. Well, the Biden Cancer Initiative is very powerful. They are very powerful. This was last week. A very powerful aggregator of talent and resources around solving these issues.
That's good to know.
So he is very, very relevant and excellent. I will say, advanced cancers is a great place where genomics is very important. But there are even greater populations that I think could be managed with pharmacogenomics, risk factors, and cardiovascular, as well as these rare. There's a very long tail of genetic diseases that tend to arise as subtle ways of making ordinary chronic diseases ever more complicated. And so I think that what I'm excited about is all the ways that are going to be sort of palm to forehead of course, this disease was sort of there, and that's why we're getting heterogeneity in outcomes. We're getting toxicities where you don't expect it, or people not responding in certain ways. It's because there's more going on. We are very complicated and complex.
Yes, we are. And we certainly haven't been figured out yet.
No.
Last question, where's the opportunity for those of our listeners that are founders and are in this space? What can you guide them with in terms of where's the most exciting opportunity?
So when I look at it this way, I really think that enablers are important. So what is it, and not to talk about my group, but what's different about the Precision Medicine Alliance? We partner so tight with hospitals that we basically are. So what is the capability we have that others don't? We are caregivers in hospitals. So I think it's important for innovators and investors to really put a very tight scope on what is it I'm going to be doing, and in some ways, is it going to be amplified by clinicians, or with which organization? So understanding how difficult it is to work with healthcare, and we've heard technology breaks its picks on healthcare, but to understand that long game of really partnering with data teams, the clinical teams, the nature of the clinicians, changing behavior in healthcare, it's very important. And it's also important to realize that not everywhere is Silicon Valley or the Bay Area, that actually the communities, and to really pressure test your innovative ideas in a true community setting, where the solution may need to be text still. So those are two things I would say.
Great. Damon, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.